really like kart race because I feel the need for speed.
Necesito sentir la velocidad. Es mi vida.
The PPG Kart World Series opened with the Miami Grand Prix, which featured a variety of beautiful things, not the least of which was a beautiful drive by Michael Andretti en route to a debut victory for the American-built Swift chassis and the championship lead. Round 2, half a world away in the Surfers Paradise, Australia, a race which featured a parade of leaders, including Scott Pruitt, who fought his way through to record his second career win on his honeymoon. Back across the Pacific for round 3, where the bungee jumpers flew, and the streets of Long Beach, California welcomed the world's best for the 23rd year in a row. None better than Alex Zanardi, who won, then celebrated with a victory donut. 3 races, 3 different winners. In the late 70s, the fabled dirt mile known as Nazareth National had fallen into disrepair. Its clay surface that once shook to the thunder of modified stock cars, eroded and weedy. Hard to tell from these images what a palace of speed it would once again become. Nowadays it looks somewhat different, and it's been further improved this year with a state-of-the-art 37,000-seat new grandstand. Hello and welcome to Eurosport's coverage of the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix from Ben Edwards and Jeremy Shaw. Looking forward to an exciting race around this tri-oval, the cars for which are lined up down in the pit lane, ready to start. But Alex Zanardi has a huge job ahead of him today. The winner from Long Beach has qualified way down in 21st position. After going out after another competitor had blown his engine in qualifying, Zanardi had to take to a track which had oil down, and there was no way he was ever going to achieve a good result from that. He was 6th fastest though this morning in the warm-up, and Zanardi with the slightly harder Firestone tyre should be in good shape for the race this afternoon. Michael Andretti starts from 2nd position, but he had his problems in Long Beach in the last race with 3 tyres that burst on him. It all came down to a problem with the team, the Newman-Haas team, with their tyre pressure gauges, believe it or not, which were misreading the correct tyre pressures, and that caused the problems for Michael Andretti in the last race. On pole position here, though, is Paul Tracy with a new lap record in qualifying, 18.831 seconds. He will start from pole position. He led this race last year until this dramatic moment when he came into the pits, got it all wrong, and knocked over his crew members. That set him back for the rest of the race. Thankfully, his crew members were not too seriously hurt, and they're all back here today to do exactly the same work on Paul Tracy's car. Jeremy, we've got a great race set up in front of us.
We have indeed. We've got a beautiful weather here at Nazareth Speedway. It's a little bit overcast, but it's nice and warm. There's a good crowd on hand, and I think we're in for a fascinating race this afternoon. You know, these 1 mile ovals, Ben, are non-stop action, and it's going to be very, very difficult for the leaders to cope with the traffic. It's how they get through the slower cars, I think, that's going to determine the outcome of this race. Experience tells on a track like this.
They'll be fighting their way through the slower cars. There are 26 cars actually allowed to take the start of this race, but it only needs a little performance difference to see the leaders interlapping the slower cars within a matter of 10 laps. And then after that, it's just all mayhem out there as the leaders try to go through. So the announcement given to start engines, and the cars on the dummy grid on the exit of the pit lane get fired up, ready to start rolling around on the warm-up laps here at Nazareth. 225 laps of this 1 mile oval. It's going to be a long afternoon's work for them. This in the past has been one of the shortest races. Nigel Mansell has the record here, but we're going to go and hear a little bit from Tony Bettenhausen, his driver, 3rd on the grid.
This is as great a job as any driver you've ever had has done. It equals the record of Stefan Johansson qualifying 3rd in Portland. Your emotions right now as you get ready to turn this rookie loose.
Well, Team Alumax is very excited right now. We think we've got a good race car, and we think we can run with those guys in the front row all day long. And if we can give him good pit stops, I think we got a great shot.
And there are a bunch of other teams experiencing the same emotion, thinking the same's not as the field starts to pull away.
The cars are coming out of the pit lane now then, being led by Paul Tracy and Michael Andretti. Patrick Carpentier, there he is, 3rd on the grid. Tremendous performance, is his best qualifying effort to date. And let's take a look at the grid then. Tracy and Andretti on that front row together. Michael Andretti won this race last year. He was also a winner back in 1987. Patrick Carpentier's best starting position of his kart career. And Gilles de Ferran, who's yet to finish in 2 previous Nazareth starts. His best result this year is 5th place at Surfers Paradise. Maurizio Guterman lines up 5th on the grid. It's his best starting position ever on a 1 mile oval. And Raul Boesel is alongside him in a surprise performance in qualifying. Confidence boosted by leading the race in Long Beach last time. Alonso Jr. still looking for his first win on this Nazareth Oval, but in great shape in qualifying. Bobby Rahal took his last win in his career back here in 1992. That's 69 races ago. Brian Herter took 6th place at Long Beach. That was his best finish of the year so far, but watch out for Greg Moore. His charge to 2nd here last year equals his career best. Scott Pruitt is the championship leader by 3 points, but he's back in 11th position. He's been in the top 5 every time. He's alongside the reigning champion who scored points in every race so far this year. Walter Salas ran here last year in the Indy Lights Championship, but he's taken his best qualifying position of this year. Alongside him is Richie Hearn, who was 2nd fastest in this morning's warm-up. Tremendous performance from the youngster in the Lola. It's another Lola up next with Andre Ribeiro. All 3 of his career victories have come on ovals. Mark Blundell taking his first ever start here at Nazareth. Parker Johnston is in 17th place. He's had a couple of top 10 finishes this year, but alongside him is the Scot, Dario Franchitti, one of 8 drivers making his first race here at Nazareth. Next up, Adrian Fernandez, 19th, his 4th visit to the Nazareth Oval. Alongside him, Roberto Moreno. His best ever finish, a 3rd, came on another oval, but the high-speed one at Michigan. Alex Zanardi then, back down in 21st place. That's his worst starting position since he's come to the CART series. Alongside him is another Italian, Max Papis. He's taking his first start on a 1 mile oval. PJ Jones, his first IndyCar race on this oval, but he's raced in Indy Lights, and he's alongside Michel Jourdain, the 20-year-old Mexican, having engine problems during practice and qualifying. Juan Fangio is back on the 13th row using the older spec Toyota engine. He had a spectacular blow-up in qualifying, and alongside him is Hiro Matsushita, taking his 100th start in IndyCar racing here today. The Nazareth Paul Tracy leads them round from pole position. They've completed 2 laps under yellow flag, the race being started, but under yellows because of dust and sand on track. That's now been cleared up. Now, are they going to start in single file? No, they are actually going to be allowed to start double file by the looks of things. For any of the other restarts, then they're going to have to start in single file. That's a slight change for this track because Nazareth is so demanding, and that means that later in the race when they see the restarts, they'll be one behind another. But for this first start, then we're going to get them side by side across the line. They go. Paul Tracy versus Michael Andretti into turn 1. Tracy takes the advantage. Carpentier slotting into 3rd place by the looks of things as everyone charges down into turn 2 and begins to build up the momentum, the speed here. It's Paul Tracy in the number 3 Penske who leads from the black car of Michael Andretti, then the white and blue car of Patrick Carpentier in 3rd position, and already they're completing the first lap. That shows you how quickly they get around here. Gilles de Ferran is in 4th position. Maurizio Guterman in 5th place. Alonso Jr. is 6th. He's made 1 position, and Raul Boesel has dropped back down to 7th place. Bobby Rahal in 8th. Greg Moore is in 9th place. 10th position for Jimmy Vasser. Behind him, Brian Herter, Richie Hearn, and Scott Pruitt. Mark Blundell is in 15th. Into the pits, though, very early on, Andre Ribeiro, and I've no idea exactly what the trouble is.
Apparently a half shaft broken on that car. That's a great shame for Andre Ribeiro and the Tasman team right out so very, very early in the race, and if it's a broken half shaft, little chance, I would say, of repairing that.
Yes, confirmation that a broken drive shaft on that car, so that means Andre Ribeiro out of the race. Paul Tracy's opening up an initial advantage already, but very early days. What we expect to see is different cars being on the pace. We've got a yellow flags just come out as Walter Salas was just moving past Raul Boesel at that point. Or was it Scott Pruitt? In fact, probably moving up past Scott Pruitt, Walter Salas. But we've got a yellow flag because of debris on the circuit. And they're the top 12 positions, as you can see. Tracy leads from Andretti, Carpentier, and de Ferran. Greg Moore sits in the pits with a rather smoky-looking Reynard Mercedes, and it looks like the end of the race for him as Paul Tracy leads the rest of the competitors around. Taking another view here of what happened to Greg. He got it all crossed up. Now it looks as though that was actually sliding on his own fluid.
Yeah, you can see the fluid actually leaking out of the side of the car as he corrected the car there. Great save by Greg Moore. He was probably doing certainly well over 170 miles an hour when the car started to slide as he went into the corner. So a heck of a save there from Greg Moore. You know, he really is a tremendous talent, and he showed it right there, I'd say.
Yes, you can see the fluid leaking, the water coming out of the side pod as we showed you, and it looks as though we're going green flag racing once again. Paul Tracy comes round then onto lap number 18 and is chased by Michael Andretti. Patrick Carpentier in third, Gilles de Ferran in fourth, Maurizio Gugelmin in fifth, being chased by Alonso Jr., and then the rest of the field comes through. We've already lost Andre Ribeiro and now Greg Moore, but it's still 24 cars in this race as you watch the battle. Alonso Jr. attacking Maurizio Gugelmin, and Alonso Jr. moves up into fifth position, and an early charge. In fact, Gugelmin loses another place there as Raul Boesel goes past. So the number 40 car, you ride with Raul Boesel, having just gone past Maurizio Gugelmin, and he chases after Alonso Jr. But it looks as though Gugelmin, the tyres fairly cool after running around behind the pace car, not looking very happy with the handling of his car, and I wonder if that's going to recover a little bit. Meanwhile, Paul Tracy just goes across the line once again. He's lapping in the 19 seconds bracket, a very quick opening bout once again from Paul Tracy. Remember, he was in the 18 seconds in qualifying, but they're running much heavier now, a full tank of fuel on board, having only completed 20 laps, and most of those under yellow flag. So Tracy very quick straight away, but we've got to keep an eye on Alonso Jr. His last lap was a 20.9, and that was as he went past. I wonder what his next lap will be, whether he's going to be slower. Well, it's a 20.6 next time around, and he gets into some clear air. Perhaps he'll be going even faster. You ride on board with Bobby Rahal, who's in 8th position, chasing after Maurizio Gugelmin, who has now dropped down into 7th place. Behind Bobby Rahal is Richie Hearn in 9th place. Excellent performance from the young Richie Hearn in the Lola, and he is the top running Lola so far.
Yeah, good effort there, as you say, by Richie. And there we are watching Maurizio Gugelmin, and there is Bobby Rahal, currently in 8th position and running along nicely. Car number 24 we hear, Hiro Matsushita running very slowly, relatively slowly at the back of the field. I think he might have got a black flag that time around, or if not, they're likely to give it to him fairly soon. He's just not up to speed on this track, and he's a danger. He comes in for a lot of criticism from some of the drivers, but Hiro is actually pretty good. He does use his mirrors fairly well, but if he's that slow, there's really no point in him staying out there. I think shortly we'll see him have the black flag shown to him.
There he is on the inside, the Japanese driver in his 100th race here today, getting out of the way, doing a good job of moving out of the way. But as you say, Jeremy, it's so tough to keep out of the way of so many cars on this 1 mile track. They just get around it so quickly. It's unbelievable to see the speed of the cars here, and the leader's already lapping several of the back markers. Tracy's just gone past Juan Fangio, and Michael Andretti's now got that job to do as well, so no difference up front. Paul Tracy lost a couple of seconds in the traffic, and that's a feature that will go all the way through this race. You can use the traffic to your advantage perhaps in trying to catch up to the car up front, but sometimes you'll lose out because of it as well. So Tracy leads, Andretti in second, Carpentier third. You're watching Alonso Jr. and Raul Boesel at the moment, and they're in the battle for 5th place. Alonso Jr. trying to close up to Gilles de Ferran. He's next on the list, but he's lapping at very much the same pace so far.
Yeah, good, great start there by Tracy. Got a little bit of clear track now as we're watching Alonso Jr., his teammate, but Tracy siding through the slower cars. There he goes past PJ Jones, Andretti in hot pursuit. Patrick Carpentier really doing a fabulous job in 3rd place for the rookie driver as we're watching one of the Brahma sports cars, and it's non-stop action here. There's something happening all the way around this racetrack.
So Gilles de Ferran, now Alonso Jr. is getting closer. He did a 20.6 on the last lap compared to 20.9 from Gilles de Ferran. Ferran very confident with the race setup of the car. They worked very much on that on Friday and really didn't worry about qualifying at all, but it didn't seem to matter because once they got out into qualifying he was still fast. He set the 4th fastest time, but Alonso Jr. is gradually beginning to bear down on him, and we've had confirmation that Hiro Matsushita is into the pits. It looks as though his race is run, being black flagged by the CART officials and really just not quite up to speed. So a shame for Matsushita, and he goes out of the race, but that means that the leaders have a slightly easier time of it as they come up. Gilles de Ferran now coming up behind the Eagle of Fangio by the looks of things. Tracy and Andretti still up front. Alonso Jr. maybe trying to take advantage of this lapping situation to get ahead of de Ferran, but in fact de Ferran gets through very cleanly, and Alonso Jr., if anything, loses out, and he's got to watch out for behind him Raul Boesel having the opportunity to close up once more.
Yeah, really doing a super job, Raul Boesel. As you said at the beginning of the show, Ben, that leading that race at Long Beach did his confidence and power of good, as also did a wonderful test midweek at Milwaukee, getting ready for the race there in the beginning of June, and Raul really taking advantage of that, running very, very strongly in the top 6 already, and that's good to see. He's a very good driver all around, and he's always been particularly good on the ovals, it seems.
Now, all you fans of the European drivers, what's happening with the likes of Franchitti and Zanardi, you're probably asking. Let me tell you, Dario is down in 16th position. There you see his name on this screen at the moment. 17th place for Alex Zanardi, down in 17th place, and he doesn't seem to be making much progress at the moment. Zanardi, who had that problem in qualifying, going out on the oil, laid down by Fangio, so he has a hard afternoon's work ahead of him. But Franchitti at the moment doing a good job holding on to 16th. Mark Blundell, by the way, he is in 14th position so far, and we haven't seen too many place changes except for these ones up front, with Alonso Jr. on the charge and chasing after Gilles de Ferran.
Boy, it's so tough getting through these slower cars. There is Michael Andretti making a move on Paul Tracy as they come past the start-finish line. He's at inside going to turn. What a great move by Michael Andretti.
Michael Andretti takes the lead of the race then as they go on to lap number 34. Michael taking advantage of the traffic, and Paul Tracy, who's been setting the pace in the early part of this race, suddenly finds that Andretti's gone past, and look, they're coming up to lap. It's Alex Zanardi. Alex Zanardi is being lapped by Michael Andretti. The winner of the previous race at Long Beach goes a lap down to Michael Andretti in the Swift chassis, the car that won the opening race of the series at Homestead. And Dario Franchitti is next on the list. Dario Franchitti in the silver car there. He moves out of the way, tries to get out of the way of Michael Andretti, although then takes his line, and we've got a yellow. It's Gualter Salles, the Brazilian. Gualter Salles has spun it, and a yellow flag has been brought out. That's on the exit of turn 3, really turn 4, as they come onto the start-finish area, and the back end of Gualter Salles' car seriously damaged after hefty contact with the wall. The yellow flag comes out on lap number 36, and I think we will begin to see pit stops. Talking to Ron Meadows just before the start of the race, team manager for the Walker Racing, he said if it goes 35 laps, just after 35 laps, then you'll see people come in. We're on lap number 36, so we could well see the cars beginning to make pit stops after this yellow flag, and they won't be allowed in straight away, but then the pit lane will be opened and the cars on the lead lap will be allowed in. Now let's see what happened here to Gualter Salles, the white car at the back of this group. Round it goes, just lost the back end. That's a serious case of going loose, as the Americans would say, and contact into the wall.
Yeah, very close behind Brian Herter he was there as he came into that corner there. Probably lost a little just downforce on the car, both front and rear. Just unsettles the car. And Gualter, he's a rookie here. It's his first time in an IndyCar, and he seems to be fine. He's pulling off the balaclava there, but a lesson learned the hard way for Gualter Salles.
On lap number 46, Michael Andretti from Paul Tracy and Patrick Carpentier, and Bobby Rahal just making a good move, in fact just lapping the car of Fangio. Just see that out of the commentary box window. Rahal running quite competitively in 7th position at the moment. There you can see also Gilles de Ferran making up some ground, but still being chased by Alonso Jr. And that was the battle we were concentrating on just before the last yellow flag came out. Then Maurizio Gugelmin is next up in 6th position, and then behind him it is Bobby Rahal. Meanwhile, Mark Blundell has moved up to 12th position as a result of Salles going out. Dario Franchitti up to 14th place. Zanardi still down there in 16th place, having been lapped by Michael Andretti. And indeed now Paul Tracy has also gone ahead of Zanardi by a lap. Concentrating there though on Alonso Jr. Remarkable that he hasn't actually ever won on this racetrack. Jeremy, it seems a bit of something missing from his CV. He's had so much success on the ovals.
Yeah, he has. In 94 it was. He's qualified 16th, I think it was, here, and came flying through the field and finished a magnificent second. Was certainly in contention. He was very much in contention last year as well. He's a great driver. He's a great race car driver. He's very smart. He's very shrewd. He doesn't take unnecessary chances. He will wait for the opportunity to pass Gilles de Ferran, and until a clear opportunity presents itself, I don't think we're going to see Alonso Jr. sticking his nose somewhere where it doesn't belong.
Michael Andretti's lead is around 2 seconds. 20.2 was his last lap. 20.0 was Paul Tracy's last lap. So Tracy not quite as comfortable as he was in the early stages of the race, and that is something we have to look for with all of the cars. How much is their performance dropping off as they go through each stint, as their set of tyres gets more worn? All of them are on slightly different tyre combinations. We've got the mixture of Goodyear and Firestone tyres, but within that there are 2 different Goodyear tyres, 2 different Firestone tyres, and there seems to be quite a lot of disagreement, if you like, this weekend, Jeremy, as to which of the tyres to run. Meanwhile, we better just keep an eye on this battle. Look at this, Alonso Jr. now coming up to pass Gilles de Ferran, goes through easily, makes it look very easy, although he had to squeeze past Max Papis at the same time. But that means that Alonso Jr. has moved up into 4th position, and he is on a charge again.
Well, that was close, wasn't it? Max Papis, I'm not sure that he actually seen those 2 cars coming past him, and Gilles de Ferran likewise. He turned in there, and it was only at the last minute, I believe, that he saw Alonso Jr. there. Great move by Junior, and he's now set his sights up.
Oh, look at this battle for the lead. Paul Tracy almost getting around the outside. Sorry to interrupt you there, Jeremy, but Paul Tracy had a big opportunity to get back into the lead there.
Yeah, and that was Greg Moore out of the pits. Michael Andretti in the pits.
So Michael making a pit stop. This is slightly unexpected. Lap number 52. It's a little bit too early for a normal pit stop. It's under green flag as well. His pit stop is right down the end of the pit lane. He's almost one of the last garages, or one of the last pit bays. So he comes in. Are there any extra problems, or is this a routine stop? It looks pretty routine to me at the moment. And Michael Andretti is refueled, new set of tyres goes on. Perhaps the handling was just beginning to go away, and he decided that it was at this opportunity that he should come into the pits.
Yeah, you can't afford, if the car is not working properly, you've got to get into the pits as quick as you can and take on service. You can't afford to have a car that's loose and you're losing ground all the time. You need to get in there and change those tyres, get a fresh set, get the balance back on the car, and try and make up the time again.
So Paul Tracy now leads from Patrick Carpentier in 2nd. Alonso Jr. is now in 3rd place with Tracy up front. So the 2 Penske's doing well, 1st and 3rd at the moment. Gilles de Ferran is 4th. Maurizio Gugelmin is 5th, and you're riding on board with Roberto Moreno at the moment. And Moreno somewhat further down the order. In fact, he's just outside the top 17 at the moment. He's in 18th place. Moreno much happier though with the car from this morning's warm-up, and gradually getting used to driving this Swift chassis on an oval. It's his first opportunity to do that. He's had no testing whatsoever. He's been thrown in at the deep end as he stands in for Christian Fittipaldi, but Moreno doing a good job. The main thing this afternoon is just to keep it consistent and try and get a finish at the end of it. Now we switch to the car of Bobby Rahal. Rahal lying in 6th place, and he's chasing after Maurizio Gugelmin. Meanwhile, up front, Paul Tracy continues to lead and lapping in the 22-second bracket last time round. Bit of traffic ahead of him. Carpentier in 2nd and Alonso Jr. in 3rd.
There is a battle for 6th place now. Bobby Rahal holding off young Richie Hearn there. There's a contrast in experience there. Bobby Rahal, of course, a 3-time champion at this level. Richie Hearn in his only 2nd season of IndyCar racing, doing a fabulous job with John Della Penna's Lola, and he's giving Bobby Rahal all he can handle right now.
Michael Andretti is back down to 17th, and look, we're looking at Michael Andretti's tyre. There's been a cut on the tyre. That was the reason for him coming into the pits by the look of it. You can see the tyre being checked down in the Newman Haas pit. Let me tell you, Andretti is in 17th place, but as he went past the window a moment ago, I saw he was right up with Carpentier.
Yeah, he is a lap down, however, so he's certainly got some work to do this afternoon, Michael Andretti, if he's going to make up that lost lap. That's a bad luck for Michael Andretti, but very astute of him. Oh dear, the car on the wall.
Bad accident on the back straight. Difficult to identify which car that is yet. We'll try and get a better view. It's Adrian Fernandez. Adrian Fernandez, the Mexican, in the other of the Tasman Motorsport Lolas. We've seen Andre Ribeiro go out. That's his teammate with a broken drive shaft. Was a bit more broken than just a drive shaft on Adrian Fernandez's car.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a shame. That's the end of the Tasman effort this weekend. Diane Hall, the engineer on that car, a British engineer, the only female engineer on the IndyCar circuit. She used to work with John Barnard. So we see a replay perhaps of this incident. We can just, well, a bit too far away, isn't it? But he was obviously riding in company there with another car. It's Michael Andretti, isn't it?
Michael was had got ahead of Carpentier. That's interesting. So Michael trying to get himself back up on the lead lap, down in 16th place, but the accident to Adrian Fernandez. obviously going very, very quickly at the moment. If he was able to get past Carpentier, having to make up for that early pit stop though with the cut tyre, remember, and that's put him well down the order.
Yeah, fresh tyres and a full head of steam from Michael himself. One presumes there's no contact there between those two cars. They must have been in pretty close proximity there. Shame we didn't have a shot from Michael's onboard camera, but he was charging back up through the field, and here we see it from. Oh no, he just lost his own. So
I don't know who that was. Michael, wasn't it? Who only just missed him. I mean, that again. You remember how well Michael avoided that accident to Fittipaldi and De Ferran in Australia? Well, another masterly piece of reactive driving there, really, from Andretti, just to nip past Fernandez as Fernandez lost it in front of him. And well, you can tell Michael's an experienced racer. He just looks for the gap, doesn't look at the car that's spinning. He goes for the gap, and in that case, he found it, didn't he?
Yeah, aim at the car as it's spinning. You're figuring that by the time you get there, it's gone. And it worked for Michael Andretti there. Very cool, very calm, very collected. And he's still a lap down, but so you know the other leaders are going to have to make a pit stop. And under the rules as they stand now, if the other guys make a pit stop under yellow, Michael then will cycle to the head of the pack, and before the restart, he will be able to run around to the back of the pack and make up that lap. So if the other guys make a pit stop shortly under this caution, perhaps, as I'd certainly be surprised if they didn't.
Yes.
Then that will play into Michael's hands. So all is not lost. He's certainly got a very, very fast car indeed. He's driving magnificently, and there's a long way to go.
63 laps completed out of 225, and we're very much into the pit stop window as the car of Adrian Fernandez being cleared away. Adrian out of the car, and in comes the race leader, Paul Tracy, in the number 3 Penske, the Canadian driver who set that scintillating pace in qualifying yesterday. Absolutely flat out from the word go on Friday in the practice sessions. Looks so confident with the car, and they've done so much testing here, the Penske team. He was saying in the press conference the other day that in the course of the last few years in testing, he's probably done something like 10,000 miles around this Nazareth circuit. He knows it better than anybody, and the pit stop goes cleanly by the looks of things. Gets Simak out and just tries to avoid the wheel of Patrick Carpentier. Very important round of pit stops this. Perhaps teams can take advantage of this pit stop to gain position. Paul Tracy comes out of the pits once again, and just looking on down the field, Maurizio Guterman has had a good pit stop. Bobby Rahal, Alan Jr. Coming out, so he maybe has lost a place or two there. And once it's all settled down, Mark Blundell comes back out of the pits as well, and Mark had dropped down the order a little bit, but it'll all sort itself out after this round of pit stops as they've completed the next lap.
Yeah, I think he was running in 10th there, and here comes Patrick Carpentier out of the pits.
So all change here at Nazareth. Roberto Moreno being serviced by the Newman Haas crew. Teammate, don't forget, to Michael Andretti as he's taken over that car. Alex Zanardi has also just been in, and he comes out just behind the car of Roberto Moreno. But Zanardi running a long way down in 16th position after qualifying in 21st place, and it doesn't look as though he's going to be able to do an awful lot, but who knows, it's still very early days in this race. Zanardi going for the championship this year, and we'll see just how mature and just how much of a championship chaser he can be today. If he can work his way into the points, don't forget, they score all the way down to 12th position in this championship. So a good opportunity for Zanardi if he just works away at it this afternoon. There'll be a lot of incidents, could be a lot of reliability factors coming into it as well. And if Zanardi can stay out of trouble, he can still get into the points and add to his tally. But working against him is the fact that Tracy's going well. Michael Andretti's got a very fast car, and Andretti lying third in the championship. Scott Pruitt, the championship leader, though, not really on the pace so far, either in qualifying or in the race.
No, it's strange, isn't it? He's been struggling a little bit all weekend here. He's certainly gone well here in the past. He's also, I know he was very worried about the car going loose in the race. They worked very, very hard throughout practice to make sure that didn't happen when we come to the race this afternoon. But there he's back in 11th place at the moment. His teammate Raul Boisel in the lead, and really looking very, very strong indeed. Patrick Carpentier, I think, must have had something go wrong during his pit stop. He's dropped all the way back to 13th place. That's a tragedy for Patrick Carpentier. But John Stone, Michael Andretti, I think, are both back on the lead lap now. And before we get ready for the restart, they will be waved past the pace car, and we'll be able to join on the back of the lead lap. So Michael Andretti, he may be running 15th, but I think he'll be back on the lead lap, and that's exactly what he needs.
That's right, yeah, so that will make a big difference for Michael. as the others lead round. Raul Boesel at the head of the queue now behind the pace car, so he leads this race, and Dario Franchitti is now in second position as a result of his earlier pit stop, well, both of their earlier pit stops, then Tracy third, Gugelmin fourth, and De Ferran in fifth position. So it will be fascinating to see how Boesel and Franchitti get on with those earlier pit stops that they made, and I wonder if that's going to work to their advantage or not. Certainly at the moment, Boesel leads with Franchitti in second, and they've got the fast man, Paul Tracy, right behind them when they get ready for the restart. Lap number 69 they're on now out of 225, and it's Raul Boesel who leads on this yellow flag period behind the pace car, Dario Franchitti behind him, but then the man who was leading before this last yellow, Paul Tracy, in third place, then Gugelmin in fourth, De Ferran in fifth, Bobby Rahal sixth. Alonso Jr. definitely losing out in that round of pit stops. He's back down to seventh position again, and then Richie Hearn, Jimmy Vasser and Brian Herter.
Rounding out the top 10 after that, Scott Pruitt, Mark Blundell, Patrick Carpentier, Parker Johnson and Michael Andretti all on the lead lap. That's 15 cars on the lead lap. Then is Roberto Moreno, Alex Zanardi, Max Papis, PJ Jones, Michel Jourdain Jr. and Juan Fangio, all a couple of laps down. Greg Moore is back in the fight, the back of the pack there, 26 laps adrift, and yeah, he'll be out there just to get some more practice on these 1 mile overs. They're tough cookies to cope with these tracks, and he just needs to pick up the experience, work on setting up the car for when they go another 1 mile oval in Milwaukee at the beginning of June. So good plan there by the players team to get the car back in the race.
We're going green flag racing once again. Raul Boesel hits the throttle as he comes out of turn 3 and accelerates to cross the line. Raul Boesel leads from Dario Franchitti in second position, and they are now got Paul Tracy bearing down on them. It'd be interesting to see how quickly Paul Tracy can deal with these two, but he's got to overtake them if he wants to get ahead once more. Franchitti has a look in his mirrors, but he's under no obligation to let Tracy through at all. They're racing for position. Franchitti in second place at the moment, and the young Scots driver, what a baptism he's having. Only his second oval race, and in some ways his first true oval race. The cars in Homestead were running in quite a different configuration. Here on the 1 mile oval at Nazareth, they've got lots of downforce, they've got great big wings front and rear. The car quite different to drive here, and the Nazareth oval, one of the most difficult. There you can see Paul Tracy is bearing down on Franchitti. Meanwhile, it's giving Raul Boesel the opportunity to escape up front.
Just a little bit, 20.4 the last lap by Raul Boesel. Franchitti 3 or 4 tenths off of that, but driving a beautiful line there, very clean indeed. Paul Tracy's going to have to work hard to get past the guy. Fabulous job by Dario Franchitti. You'd think he was a veteran.
That's right, and only in his fourth ever race. He never came and saw any of the races before he got into the car to actually race in Miami. So it's been an incredible learning experience for Franchitti, but with an excellent team owner, Carl Hogan, who's been through it all before. But now it looks as though Tracy tucked in the slipstream and dives past as they go into turn 3. Good, clean passing manoeuvre from Paul Tracy. He knew that Franchitti was quick. He had to do a decent job on him. He did so Franchitti goes back to third. Tracy now goes chasing after Raul Boesel.
Very smart driving by Paul Tracy, waiting for the opportunity. He got a great run out of turn 2 at the top of the hill and took advantage to draw alongside Dario Franchitti, went downhill into turn 3, cleanly through on the inside. Dario paying attention. Great move by Paul Tracy. As you say, now he sets his sights on Raul Boesel.
Boesel lapping in the 20.5 bracket last lap, and Paul Tracy at 20.3, a couple of a tenth second faster. Paul Tracy still the fastest man on the circuit by the looks of things as he chases after Boesel. Paul Tracy leads as the racing starts once more, and Dario Franchitti lies in second position. Behind Franchitti, it's Maurizio Gugelmin in third.
Top 3 all Mercedes-Benz engines. They've gone 20 races without a win, and they've got the top 3 at the moment. They've also got 5th place with Alonso Jr. there. Mercedes looking very strong this afternoon at Nazareth Speedway.
Yes, I spoke to Paul Morgan of Ilmore just a little bit before the start of the race, and he was saying that it's not necessarily an engine circuit, this one. Really, the engine builders are all reliant upon the chassis guys getting their side of the equation right, because this circuit, it's all about getting the chassis right. The power really doesn't make such a difference. If the car's handling goes wrong, doesn't matter what kind of engine you've got in the back of your car, you are not going to get anywhere. But it looks as though Penske's got their chassis dialed in well. The Hogan team with Dario Franchitti seem to have got their car dialed in pretty well. Let's just check out the lap times. A 20.1 on the last lap for Franchitti, or rather for Tracy. A 20.5 from Franchitti. Good effort, as Tracy's last lap goes to 20.3. So Dario pretty much on the pace. Gugelmin 20.6, De Ferran 20.7. So Dario really is on the pace at the moment with the front runners. The main guy on a charge, again, as we've seen throughout this race, is Alonso Jr. And he's been wanting to get past De Ferran, it seems like forever, but he's right behind the Brazilian once again.
Yeah, the Brazilian there, Gil De Ferran, really doing a nice job. He's being faster. He needs to be fast. He's got to get off turn 2 to stop Alonso Jr. getting a run at him down the hill. He's doing a masterful job of that at the moment, and Gil De Ferran certainly has control, I would say at this stage of the game at least, over Alonso Jr.
Across the line they go to complete 95 or 94 laps at the moment. Gil De Ferran lies in 4th place, Alonso Jr. in 5th place. Let's just run through the order again for you. Bobby Rahal's behind them in 6th, Richie Hearn in 7th position, not far behind. Jimmy Vasser 8th, Brian Hertz at 9th. Scott Pruitt is in 10th place, 11th is Mark Blundell, 12th is Patrick Carpentier, 13th for Michael Andretti now, and still trying to work his way up the order, lapping quickly at 20.7. And here you can see a picture of Gil De Ferran with Angela and the new baby, Luke Anthony, who was born just last week. Congratulations to Gil De Ferran and family, and let's hope that Gilles' season takes a little bit of an upturn in fortune, Jeremy, with the addition to the family, because he has been having some bad luck this year.
Boy, nothing has gone right for him so far, has it? Been involved in accidents at every single race, and chassis number 011 here, 97011, has been in the wars this year so far, but he's doing a masterful job this weekend, and a good strong run so far. This is still very early stages in the race, still not yet halfway, plenty of time to go for Gil De Ferran.
Fangio, it looks as though, or is it Jones? It's Jones, I think, slowing down, and I wonder if that's going to cause another yellow flag. We'll keep our eyes peeled to see whether the yellow is thrown. It looked for a moment as though Unser was getting even closer to De Ferran, but as you say, Jeremy, each time De Ferran's very quick out of turn 2, and that really doesn't give Unser the opportunity. Here Unser closes in. There's not really the chance into turn 1, and it's certainly difficult into turn 2.
It's difficult anywhere on this racetrack, particularly if the cars are equally matched, with these two seem to be at the moment. They're both on Goodyear tyres, they're both on the same kind of tyres, they're both using the primary tyre, which is the harder of the two Goodyears, and they are very, very closely matched. It's tough. You can't. You're not going to walk past anybody here, and particularly now we've got rid of some of the slower traffic. A couple of Toyotas have fallen by the wayside, and there is less traffic around to hold up the leaders. It's going to be awfully difficult to make a pass.
So the gap remains pretty constant between these two. Paul Tracy's lead at the moment is just under a second from Dario Franchitti, and that just shows you Franchitti is on the same pace as Paul Tracy at this point in the race. Brilliant performance from Franchitti.
Quite brilliant. There is a couple of slower cars there, which has allowed Mauricio Gugelmin to close up. That is Greg Moore right ahead of him on the road. Ooh, a little bit of a
Franchitti could be in trouble. He could be in trouble here from Mauricio Gugelmin, bearing down on him. The Hollywood car is right behind. That's in 3rd place. Franchitti in the silver and blue car is just holding on to 2nd at the moment, but is he going to continue holding on to 2nd as they go down the back straight? Mauricio Gugelmin dives down the inside. Oh, Franchitti tries to stay with him around the outside, but he couldn't quite do it. But he's certainly learning the art of oval racing as Gugelmin goes up to 2nd. But watch out, because De Ferran and Unser are not far behind, and Franchitti's in danger of losing several places in one go here if he's not careful. He's in 3rd at the moment. 4th is De Ferran in the Valvoline Cummins car, and then right behind him is Alonso Jr. What a tremendous battle this is turning into.
Car number 2 never counted out, and what a great battle here for 2nd place at the moment. Paul Tracy pulling out a little bit, 3.5 second lead that time over Mauricio Gugelmin, but here's this battle going on just behind them, and boy, it's non-stop action. It's a great race going on here. There is Alonso Jr. looking again to the inside, not this time.
So Paul Tracy leads from Mauricio Gugelmin and Dario Franchitti. That's our order, but what a great battle it is for 3rd with De Ferran and Unser in there as well. 20 laps to go here at Nazareth. Paul Tracy leads by 4.9 seconds now. He's opened up the advantage over the last lap or two as the battle continued for second. Gugelmin has moved into second place, past Dario Franchitti, and Franchitti now under pressure from Gilles de Ferran. Gilles de Ferran took a look down the inside, but Dario's not to be intimidated that easily. He might be a rookie, he might be in his first race here at Nazareth, but he is not going to let anybody pass without a battle, and Alonso Jr. had the chance to close up behind de Ferran there, almost as a result, and Gilles a little wide through turn 2. Alonso Jr. perhaps with his closest opportunity, but still out of the corner. He gets away from the Penske.
Honda horsepower there, you're able to get to the power to the road there in the car number 5, the Valvoline car of Derek Walker Racing. And Gilles de Ferran here being careful, he's coming up now. There is Greg Moore ahead of him. Greg Moore's running very quickly, isn't he, at this stage in the race, even though he's 20 odd laps behind. And Greg Moore, if they come up really close behind him, I'm sure he'll let them go. I'm sure he won't hold them up unduly, because he knows he's out of contention for the race. But still, they've still got to work their way past him, and that's not going to be an easy task if they're running similar speeds.
Greg Moore, the car that we saw earlier that had a fluid leak, we thought he'd actually pulled out of the race, but the team obviously deciding to repair the car and get him back out there, because this could be a race of attrition, and there's still an opportunity to pick up the odd point.
Yeah, there is Dario Franchitti, Alonso Jr. right behind him, and only a few cars, well, there they are right behind them. The next two cars also closing in, Bobby Rahal and Richie Hearn, who's doing a fabulous job there, running in 7th place at the moment, but right in contention there, with that whole group really battling for 2nd place.
So Dario Franchitti managing to get away from that battle between de Ferran and Unser, getting Greg Moore between them, and again we can't stop saying just how impressed we are with Franchitti's performance so far. Let's hope he keeps it up. Fangio into the pits there in the top right hand corner of your screen, and he seems to be suffering with a few problems at the moment, but Franchitti dealing with the traffic, dealing with the turbulence, which is a critical part of driving on an oval track. Once you get behind these other cars at these sort of speeds, remember they're doing over 190 miles an hour as they go up that back straight, and the slowest part of the circuit they're still doing over 140 miles an hour. The speeds here are just tremendous, and once you get behind another car into the turbulent air that car creates, the handling of the car changes, and each lap around the oval is different as the fuel load goes down, as the tyres wear more. So Franchitti holding on superbly to 3rd position at the moment, but don't forget the race leader, the one who's doing the job best of all at the moment, is Paul Tracy. After 111 laps, Tracy leads from Gugelmin, Franchitti, de Ferran, Unser and Rahal. On lap number 114 then, with an advantage as he comes across the line. Let's just check what the gap is, 7.6 seconds, and that is a big advantage for Paul Tracy now leading this race. 22.7 his last lap, 22.0 for Maurizio Gugelmin, as Dario Franchitti continues in 3rd place.
Yeah, both working themselves through a little knot of slower cars there. Tracy slowed up a little bit on that lap, and just that'll allow that second group to close in just a little bit perhaps, although of course in a couple of laps time they will have to pass the same group of cars.
I think Dario's just come into the pits, Franchitti has come into the pits, so has Roberto Moreno, so 2 cars, and of course remember Franchitti made an earlier stop, so he has now had to come into the pits, and he's had to make his 2nd stop under green flag conditions. Also in the pits is Michel Jourdain, and that's the Mexican car you can see there. I can tell you that Roberto Moreno is back out of the pit lane. There is Moreno, we are riding on board with him now, waiting to see Franchitti come out. Where is Dario? I can just, I'm watching down the pit lane at the moment, and I can see Dario Franchitti now leaving the pit lane and stopping under green flag, so that will drop him down the order once again. But let's wait and see what happens later in the race. He will still presumably have one more stop to make, but if that takes place under yellow flags, then that may be an opportunity for him to make up some of the lost ground. Unser attacking de Ferran again. Unser looking down the inside into turn 3. Still not quite the opportunity to get the Penske alongside the blue and white car of Gilles de Ferran, who is right behind the red and white car of Maurizio Gugelmin. Gugelmin is going slow here, and de Ferran has got the chance. Oh, he squeezes through on the inside, and de Ferran goes up into 2nd position, and Unser, I think, is going to go up into 3rd. Gugelmin on the left-hand side. Oh, he just gets into turn 3 ahead of Alonso Jr. So Gugelmin for the moment holds on to 3rd, but Unser is chasing after him. He wants to get past him and go on the chase of de Ferran.
I think what happened there as they went through turn 1, Gugelmin was trying to get a run on Greg Moore, and he had to lift out of the throttle. That enabled Gilles de Ferran to keep the momentum up and get alongside going into the next corner. Great move by both drivers, really. De Ferran careful not to make contact with the car, and Gugelmin just giving him the room he needs. There's no point in closing the door at that stage.
So all changes at the moment as Tracy leads, but the battle for second continues. Lap number 120 as Tracy leads, but Gilles de Ferran now in second place, Gugelmin in third. Al Unser Jr. now has to get past Gugelmin, and as you say, Jeremy, it was Gugelmin who lost that little bit of speed because of the back markers. Now that they're into clear air again, Gugelmin is again lapping very quickly, 21.6 last lap, so they've all lost some pace now that the tyres are beginning to wear a little bit in this stint, and Gilles de Ferran is now only just ahead of Gugelmin again, and Gugelmin's sort of coming back at him. Really good battle between these three.
They're very, very closely matched indeed, all these cars, and Greg Moore right in front of them as well, but you know, Moore's not making it easy for these guys, and he's a long way behind. They're enabling Paul Tracy to pull out ever more of a lead. He's got almost half a lap on these guys already. It's over 12 seconds, that's more than half a lap on this little racetrack, and I think Greg Moore needs to perhaps get out of the way a little bit. Let him go past and then tuck in behind him would be a much smarter move.
Alonso Jr. looking close again to the back of Gugelmin's car. Let me tell you that Dario Franchitti is down in 16th place now, having had to make that second pit stop under green flag racing conditions. That's how much time you lose. Franchitti down to 16th now, but still lapping quickly. His last lap was a 20.8, and that is about the fastest of anybody on that last lap, I think. So Franchitti still going very quickly as Alonso Jr. almost alongside Gugelmin once more, but again, he can't get alongside enough to really make that move stick. And De Ferran now has got that problem of following behind Greg Moore, and there's another car up ahead of them. It looked like Parker Johnston, so this thing really could change every time. Franchitti just gone over the line again. I just want to see his last lap again at 20.8. So again, Franchitti lapping quickly, but down there in 16th place. Meanwhile, Mark Blundell is lying in 12th position, his last lap at 21.5. Let's hear from Max Papis as to what happened to him earlier.
And the pace was good, the car was fine, and the car was doing very good. You might have also racing on this short track, but that's not my ride every day. I would love to do it every day.
As Max was speaking there, Alonso Jr. has got past Maurizio Gugelmin, so Alonso Jr. goes into third position, and finally he's found his way past that Brazilian, but it's the other Brazilian he's been fighting with most of the time, Gilles de Ferran. Now look at this, Richie Hearn is in the red and white car that you can see just behind the blue and white car of Bobby Rahal. The name of Bobby Rahal may be well known to you if you've followed Indy cars over the last few years. The name of Richie Hearn may be less well known, but Jeremy, he's certainly showed his ability in the opening races of this championship. Richie Hearn.
Yeah, he's done a phenomenal job. He's really giving Bobby Rahal all he can handle there, isn't he? And it's great to see from this young driver. He won a race last year at Las Vegas, an Indy Racing League event at the end of the season, and for such relative inexperience on the ovals, he's showing a masterful hand here this afternoon.
Alonso Jr. has caught right up to the back of Gilles' car again, and look how quickly he's caught him, and this time Alonso Jr. goes past. He made that look so easy, and that was really because he had the run on Gilles de Ferran. He didn't have to sort of sit behind him for a moment or two and think about it. He had the momentum already built up, and he just used it. Fabulous.
Just perfect. Textbook stuff there from Alonso Jr. He wrote the textbook, I'd say, at this place, and a great move. He got the run, as you say, off turn 3, and was able to slingshot easily past Gilles de Ferran, who could absolutely nothing about it.
We saw Greg Moore coming into the pits. You just saw him in the background a moment ago, so that's changed things around for these guys a little bit as well, because it's given them a little bit of clear air without a car running at a similar speed to themselves. So Maurizio Gugelmin now in 4th position and fighting De Ferran. It's as though we're getting ready to go green flag racing once again as Paul Tracy comes out of the final corner. The green flag is waved and Paul Tracy comes across the line. Alonso Jr. in 2nd position, but with a few other cars and traffic amongst it all, it's going to make life very exciting. But you're watching the battle for 3rd on board with Michael Andretti in the black Swift, and now chasing after Gilles de Ferran, and Michael has been brave on cold tyres. He's taken the speed with him. He goes through up into 3rd place, and now Michael goes chasing after the two Penskes. My word, what a tremendous battle we've now got in prospect. We've got Paul Tracy leading, Alonso Jr. 2nd, Michael Andretti in 3rd, 3 three of the top names in this championship over the last however many years, and they're all going to be battling for the race victory here in Nazareth.
We've got a heck of a race here. We've got 71 laps to go, everything to play for. Paul Tracy there taking advantage of the clear track to pull out an appreciable advantage of Alanza Jr., who has Michael Andretti just a couple of car lengths behind, 4 or 5 car lengths behind. We see him going round turn 2 there, onto the back straightaway. Andretti's very good off that corner, isn't he, right now? But no sign of Paul Tracy there. He's really taken advantage. He's checked out right away.
Yeah, he's really charged after the pace car came in and he went green again. But look at Andretti closing up on Al Unser Jr. These two who've battled so much throughout their career. Very evenly matched, both from famous racing families, and both of them champions in this form of racing. Michael Andretti was the one who got the opportunity to go to Formula 1. Al Unser Jr. came close on some occasions, but they're both back now and battling against one another here at Nazareth, and it really is good stuff. Can Andretti find that little gap that he needs to get the Swift alongside the Penske? We've got an intriguing battle going on between these two. Mercedes power in the Penske, Ford Cosworth power in the back of the Swift. Doesn't seem to be too much to choose between them at the moment, but Al Unser Jr. is holding on to second so far. But of course Michael can see Paul Tracy disappearing up the road as Paul Tracy's opened up a 3-second lead over these two already.
He's certainly had the fastest car all weekend, Paul Tracy. They're all running the same type of Goodyear tyre, the harder tyre, and there's certainly nothing to choose between those two right now. You know, I fancy that maybe Michael could be a little bit quicker, but he's got to get past Al Unser Jr., and boy, that's no easy task, let me tell you.
No, but Michael Andretti is hard a racer as they come, and if anybody can get past Al Unser Jr., then it's probably going to be Michael Andretti. And over the years, they've had their contretemps, they've had the bad times, but they've got a great deal of respect for one another. There's no doubt about that, and they will be racing as hard as anything to try and hold on to position and to try and keep Paul Tracy in sight, because all three of them are out to win this race. They're not out there to finish in second place. Points that do matter. Michael Andretti lying third in the championship at the moment, and his two main rivals for the championship are not performing here this weekend. Scott Pruitt is down in 12th position, Alex Zanardi is down in 15th position. So Andretti really does have a tremendous opportunity to open up a bit of an advantage in the championship, but he won't worry about that too much. It's race victories he's looking for, and again he closes up to the back of Al Unser Jr.'s car, and we ride on board.
No question Michael Andretti has a faster car right now, but he's got to make the move. You know, the Penske team, they knew coming into today that Michael Andretti was going to be their stiffest challenger. They also had a wary eye on Gilles de Ferry, quite rightly, but Michael Andretti, he's the guy. Can he get past Al Unser Jr.?
Let's just try and pick up some of that radio communication going on. A little bit difficult to make it out as they go on round at up to 190 miles an hour. Of course, the radio communication, a very, very important part of racing on an oval, Jeremy. The teams with their own spotters around the circuit to check out where the traffic is, that information being relayed back to the driver, other information being relayed from the team to the driver as well.
Yeah, and they know exactly who is where, effectively. Michael Andretti doesn't need radio communication. He knows exactly what the situation is. He can see Al Unser Jr. there right in front of him, and he knows he's got to pass him. He knows Paul Tracy is ahead of the both of them. He knows that Paul Tracy, well, was pulling away. The gap has come down a little bit, actually. He was out almost of 3 seconds. It's now down to less than 2, and these two are certainly lapping very, very well indeed. I guess, you know, Paul Tracy had to get through a couple of slower cars, as Mark Blundell was one of them, and Greg Moore, once again, always seems to be there or thereabouts, doesn't he?
Interesting to see that Dario Franchitti is in 13th place, Mark Blundell is in 14th, so both of them running pretty much together at the moment as the leaders coming through to go past them, and this is where Al Unser Jr. has got to watch out as Andretti, the opportunistic manoeuvre always possible as they go through traffic, and look there, Andretti's had a bit of a run, but not really possible through turn 1 into turn 2 and onto the backstretch. Can Andretti get into the slipstream? Blundell in the Motorola car. The blue and white player's car of Greg Moore is in there as well. Then it's Al Unser Jr. and then it's Michael Andretti. These two battling for second position. And there you can see he's 1.6 seconds, it's 1.3 seconds now behind Paul Tracy. They are reeling Tracy in a little bit.
And they are both being held up by Greg Moore. Michael Andretti slid very, very wide going into that corner. Finally, Greg Moore pulls out of the way. Good move by him. But Andretti was well up in the grey going into that turn. And one hopes he hasn't got a problem here because he's having some trouble getting past Greg Moore. There he goes.
Yeah, he's passed Andretti, still there in third. Michael Andretti then losing time to Al Unser Jr. That will give Al a chance to concentrate more on looking ahead rather than keeping an eye on his mirrors, if he can do that at all at 190 miles an hour, and he chases after teammate Paul Tracy. Tracy's lead just 1.3 seconds as they scythe their way through the traffic here. Tracy has done this earlier in the race, opening up a stint very, very quickly, but then as the tyres get more up to temperature, he seems to drop back a little bit, and that's occurred again as Al Unser Jr. on the other hand seems to pick up pace as we go through each session. But now Junior's got a bit of traffic to get past. He's got Blundell ahead of him, he's got Franchitti ahead of him, and all of a sudden Andretti's caught right up again. So Junior now really has his work cut out. Andretti's going to try and take advantage of this. Can he go through as well? Mark Blundell gets passed by Al Unser Jr. Blundell is also going to be passed by Michael Andretti, but he couldn't quite get past Unser in that.
No, he had a good run off that corner, didn't he, Michael Andretti, but just not enough steam to get alongside Al Unser Jr. Smart move by both of those guys. They're really they're showing their experience here. They're getting through the traffic, they're thinking ahead. They're probably planning at least a couple of corners ahead, and on this track it takes some doing. That's what experience is all about.
So Andretti just behind Unser still. Remember, in fourth place, we've lost track of fourth place, man, because we're so intent on this battle for third. It's Gilles de Ferran in fourth, Jimmy Vasser fifth, Bobby Rahal is sixth, seventh for Brian Herter, eighth for Parker Johnston, then Raul Boesel in ninth, and Richie Hearn is in 10th. Guterman's dropped all the way down to 11th position now, having a bad end of afternoon by the looks of things for Maurizio Guterman. Pruitt in 12th, Franchitti in 13th, and Blundell in 14th.
Yeah, Franchitti there and Blundell, they're just a couple of laps down, and right ahead of them on the road is the rest of this battle. There's Parker Johnstone, Raul Boesel, Richie Hearn, Mauricio Guterman and Scott Pruitt, and then the race leader trying to work his way through that battle. So they're all right in contention there. There's a heck of a lot to play for positions 8 through 14 are pretty much nose to tail.
Some more radio communications going on as Michael Andretti still tucked in the slipstream of Al Unser Jr. Dario Franchitti is the car that they've got next on their list, lying in 13th place. Franchitti lapping quickly though, as you can see, and he's certainly not getting in the way of this battle for second as yet. But Al just lost a bit of time there.
Yeah, he was just hanging back a little bit there. He wanted to get a good run out of turn 2 so he can get past Franchitti, but he got a little bit sideways there. This is a chance, Michael Andretti. He's down to the inside.
Michael Andretti takes second position away from Al Unser Jr. He read that situation beautifully, and Al caught himself out really in trying to get past Dario Franchitti. But of course it could happen the other way, because Michael now has to get past Franchitti. He's also got to get past his other group of cars ahead. Michael down on the inside. He seems to be able to place that car more or less where he wants to, and that's how he got the advantage. There's the pass once again as Michael got past Al Unser Jr. and up into second place. So Penske's day still is under attack from Michael Andretti and the Swift.
He's right behind. That is Paul Tracy right in front of him with that group of slow cars ahead of Paul Tracy, who is slowing up. Michael Andretti looks to the inside. He can't make a move that time. He'll wait for a clear opportunity. Great move by Michael Andretti.
This is the battle for the lead then. You can see the car of Paul Tracy right in front of you. You ride with second place man Michael Andretti. He looks to the inside, but Paul Tracy says no way, not there man. You're going to wait a little moment, but Paul has still got other cars to deal with as well.
Michael knows he has a faster car, doesn't he? You can see it in his driving. He knows he doesn't have to push the issue yet. He knows that once the opportunity does come, and it will come, he's confident of that. He's not going to push his luck just yet. That car is the first 1 mile over for the Swift chassis. Fantastic effort from that Newman Haas team.
Yes, and there's still some 45 laps to go, so he doesn't have to take any big risks to get past Tracy here. Just look at how he can seemingly hold a tighter line at the same speed as Paul Tracy coming out of turn 2 into turn 3. And the car, we got a yellow. The yellow has come out. We have a yellow flag has been called. Now, it's Blundell. Mark Blundell has hit the wall. He's ripped off the right front, and it doesn't look too badly damaged as these things go, but Mark has caused another yellow flag. Just looking out of the commentary box window, Jeremy, it's a bit of cloud around as well. I hope that the rain stays away. It does look to me as though we could get some rain later on this afternoon, and that would just add to the fun as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's certainly in the forecast. It's supposed to not to get here, I think, until the evening. 45 laps to go, and under green flag conditions that goes past in a flash, doesn't it? But a great shame for Mark Blundell, really doing a nice job in 14th position there, but that was a good effort, Mark Blundell. A shame his race is over so early, but a good effort nonetheless from the Englishman.
CART safety car comes up to deal with Mark Blundell, who sits in his car, probably the safest place to be when everybody else is still going around the track, although they're all going around slowly now because the pace car is leading the field, led by Paul Tracy, with Michael Andretti right behind him. Now there'll be a fascinating restart because Michael has seemed so quick on the restarts of the last couple of times. He seems to be able to just get that Swift going very quickly on cold tyres, and it just works so well. So Tracy's going to be under attack, there's no doubt about it, on the first lap after the green flag.
That's very true. What is also true is that Paul Tracy is no slouch when it comes to the restart. We see Mark Blundell climbing out of the car under his own steam. Boy, he's had a tough time on the ovals, hasn't he? But I'm sure he learned a lot today. He had a very good run going. He was dicing there with some very experienced drivers on these oval tracks, and a fine effort by Mark Blundell. Shame it ends against the wall, but I think when he looks at the big picture, he'll be proud of his performance this afternoon.
Yes, it's had a tough time, there's no doubt about that, but it's just part of the learning process. It's got to be gone through. We didn't actually see what caused that, of course. Difficult to see whether it was purely a mistake on his part or whether he got tied up with another car. Very difficult to see at this stage.
Yeah, running in some pretty heavy traffic there with some pretty heavy hitters. He was right in there with the leading pack, wasn't he? It was very interesting, I thought, that when Paul Tracy came up, he got past Dario Franchitti and Mark Blundell before that pretty easily. About 10-12 laps ago, he wasn't able to get past Scott Pruitt, and that was when he was really having his hands full of Michael Andretti. So smart driving by Paul Tracy. They're all running very, very competitively. This is how close this series is. It's difficult to make a pass. He was being careful not to lose a position as much as to put those guys a lap down. So smart driving all around.
A couple of pit stops being made, one by Roberto Moreno, who you ride with, and also looked to me as though Dario came in as well. Remember, these guys were on a different strategy because they stopped out of sequence earlier on. And also one of the Brahma cars coming in, and that's likely to be Raul Boesel, I would think, but I couldn't quite see which car it was. Greg Moore has been in as well. There is, it was Raul Boesel just coming out of the pits as well. No, wasn't it? It was Scott Pruitt, sorry. Scott Pruitt, the championship leader, lying down in 12th place, who was into the pits then.
Nothing to lose there. He was the last guy on that second, one lap down, so a good move by the Brahma team.
Riding on board with Jimmy Vasser. Jimmy's having a very quiet afternoon, but he's there in 5th place, and he's finished every race in the points so far in the championship this year. Always Mr. Consistent, that's how he won the series last year. Hasn't had quite the same pace though this year. His best result, I think, a 5th place so far this year. The rest of the time he's only just been in the points, but again he's stayed out of trouble here today, hasn't he, Jeremy, so far?
You know, he knows what it takes now to win a championship. He's done that. He did it last year. He's now finished, I think it's 20 races in a row that car has finished. Remarkable effort there by Grant Weaver's crew, and Jimmy Vasser's had a couple of strong runs. He was actually third, of course, wasn't he, at Homestead, the first race of the season. Had a little bit of bad luck in several of the races, but he's been right thereabouts. Again, he's a shrewd young man, is Jimmy Vasser. He's not the most flamboyant of characters, perhaps, at least in the public eye, but he's matured greatly as a driver, and he knows what it takes to win a championship. You have to finish all the races.
Patrick Carpentier into the Bettenhausen pit. Been a bit of a disappointing afternoon for the French-Canadian after that superb qualifying effort to be third on the grid here, and various problems have seen him drop back down the order, so he's now in 15th place, but we'll hear a lot more from Carpentier as we go through the rest of this season. I've no doubt about that. Little break. Okay, yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's going well. Hey, Bert. How you doing? Good. Glad to hear it. No breaks. good. It's a good race, isn't it? Yeah. That'll be great. Michael versus Paul. Good stuff.
And don't forget Al.
Yeah, and Al in there as well.
Yeah, good point.
Okay. Are they being given the one? I think we're going to go back green, guys, at the end of this. Okay. Lap number 189 we're on now as Paul Tracy leads the field around behind the pace car. It looks as though we're getting ready to go green flag racing once again as the battle between Paul Tracy, Michael Andretti and Alonso Jr. will be rejoined. They've got Gilles de Ferran behind them as well. Tracy just weaves around a little bit to get a bit of heat into the tyres. He will control the pace of the restart. He hits the throttle. All 800 brake horsepower goes down to the road and out of turn 3 he comes onto the green flag. Tracy leads from Andretti, but what now can Michael do about getting past the Penske and taking over the lead of this race? Part with a cut tyre. He had to make an early pit stop, but the Swift chassis has just been superb here this afternoon. So again has the Penske, and it's now a battle between two of the top teams in the championship. The Penske team and the Newman-Haas team. It's going to be a battle to the wire.
Well, look how much they pulled away from Alonso Jr. on that lap, a second and a half on that one lap. That's very interesting indeed. These two are very, very closely matched. And Andretti, I think he'll be biding his time. He'll try and stay close to the Penske. Every time the Penske's gone out, it's been quick right off the box. As soon as the green light shows, Paul is on the gas right away. He can run a very, very fast pace instantly. But when he comes up to the traffic, that's when it seems to even out a little bit. And that's when Michael Andretti's extra experience could begin to tell in these final 45 or so laps.
Oh, Tracy certainly, yeah, that's all right. 35 laps to go, but certainly very, very on the limit there, Tracy, but you can see he's just managed to open up that advantage a little bit as he was. Oh, we've got another yellow flag. Big accident. Richie Hearn, Parker Johnston. Oh, another car spinning in avoidance. Roberto Moreno has spun in avoidance at the back of that, but there's Roberto. He simply spun to avoid the wrecked cars as they came out of turn 3, but the other cars of Richie Hearn and Parker Johnstone much more heavily involved. It's Parker Johnston's car on the left is the white and green car, and down on the inside he's come down onto the pit lane entrance is the car of Richie Hearn. That's the red and white car. So that really throws a spanner in the works. It means that we'll have to have another restart. This is going to be a long yellow flag, I would imagine, because we've got 33 laps to go. Remember, each of the laps will count as they go round behind the pace car. Every lap will still count towards the race distance, and they'll go nice and slowly now because they don't really want to come back round to that area until they have to. Roberto Moreno should be able to be push-started once again. He'll be gotten out of the way fairly quickly. I don't think he actually hit anything, but it's the other car of Parker Johnston and Richie Hearn that will cause the problems.
Give me a push, says Roberto there, and here we see the incident there. Ooh, Parker Johnston climbing up the wall there. Boy, that's a nasty looking. It's a great shame. Those two are both doing a good job. Richie Hearn, there's a couple of people squeezing through. Greg Moore, was that Raul Boisel, I think, on the grass, missing those two, or Scott Pruitt, one of the two.
Let's take another view. Let's see. Parker Johnston and Richie Hearn we're looking for. They spun, well, in fact, Parker spun it first, didn't he? Parker had lost it. Richie had absolutely nowhere to go but to hit the car. And Parker did a sort of wall of death act round the outside on the concrete wall. And how everyone else managed to miss them was absolutely amazing. We got a written interview with Richie.
Got together and I was just an innocent victim. You know, Parker should have let everybody go by him some time ago because I think he was a lap down, and you know, I just got caught out. So
sometimes that happens, guys. He's on his way to the CART Medical Center for the mandatory check.
Let's take another look at that incident again from a different angle, or from the angle we were just looking at just now. Again, you watch the white and green car losing it, bang, in comes Richie Hearn. He was on the brakes, but it was just nothing he could do. And what a brilliant job the other guys behind them did. Roberto locked up and spun, but apart from that, let's see it from Roberto's car. In fact, he was battling up there with one of the Brahma cars, and then suddenly it all happens ahead of him on the brakes, slowing down, locks up, gets on the grass, got his hands in a bit of a mess, and that's the reason that he spun it in the end. But well, there wasn't an awful lot he could do about that.
No, indeed.
So with Parker Johnston's car sitting there smoking away, still some way to go in this race. Clear up the mess after Parker Johnston and Richie Hearn's shunt. It certainly did look as though there may have been a little bit of contact between Raoul Boesel and Parker Johnston in that accident, but thankfully they've got it pretty much cleared up now.
Yeah, but Raoul Boesel diving down the inside going into turn 3 didn't really look like he was quite alongside him, did he? Parker Johnston shut the door. Contact at that stage inevitable, unfortunately, and just a phenomenal save, wasn't it, from Raoul Boesel? I think we're getting ready for the restart here. The track is all cleared up finally,
yes,
and we'll have a 19-lap dash to the finish.
It's a fascinating battle. Yeah, we've got 19 laps of racing under green. Hopefully, if there's not another yellow flag, let's hope there's not another yellow, because we'd love to see the battle go right down to the wire. The reports from the radios of the various teams are that Paul Tracy's happy with his car in clean air when he's not having to deal with other traffic. Michael is much happier with his car in traffic. It's not so good in clean air. We'll soon find out who's got the best car, because they're coming round to get this race underway. 19 laps to go here in Nazareth, and Andretti's right on Tracy's tail as they get under racing conditions again. Alonso Jr. in third place, but just watch this battle for the lead now.
Fabulous stuff here. Michael Andretti, there he is changing up into the next gear, 6th gear, probably going down the back straightaway, all over the back of Paul Tracy. Tracy very good through turn 3, gets a good run, able to put on a little bit of breathing space. That's what he needs at this stage in the game.
This is a real pressure situation now for both of these drivers. Paul Tracy leading the race, looking for the first Penske win for a long, long time. No race victories during the 1996 season at all. Michael Andretti, on the other hand, would love to take victory in his hometown race, and also because he lies third in the championship and he wants to try and get into the championship lead and escape the clutches of the likes of Scott Pruitt and Alex Zanardi, who are not going to score well here today. 10th place for Pruitt at the moment, 11th place for Alex Zanardi. Andretti has a great opportunity here to win this race and get some more points, but Paul Tracy is going to do everything in his power to keep the Swift chassis behind him. We've got just 16 laps to go now of the 1 mile oval. They're lapping it around 20 seconds, so it's only about 5 minutes worth of racing. Can Paul Tracy hold on to this lead? Is Michael Andretti going to dive through in the last few stages? And are they going to get into any traffic before the end of the race?
Very little steering wheel movement there, isn't there, from Michael Andretti? That car is handling absolutely perfectly. 20.1, that lap for both these two. Michael Andretti so smooth there on the wheel. When they come up to the traffic, that's going to tell the tale, I think, between these two drivers, with now just 15 laps to go.
Paul Tracy looking for his first win with Penske since he came back from Newman Haas. Of course, he was teammate to Michael Andretti just a couple of years ago in the 1995 season. Took a couple of wins that year, but that was his last victory. The Michigan race in 1995 was the last win for Paul Tracy. He desperately wants to take the maximum points here today, back with Penske into the second year. And can he keep his former teammate behind him in the remaining 13 laps to go? Third place is still Alonso Jr., but he's some 3.9 seconds behind this battle as Andretti gets closer still as they come up towards turn 3.
Yeah, it's not an easy place to pass this, as Michael Andretti is finding out. He's passed a lot of cars around here in the past few years. Can he get past Paul Tracy? It's going to be awfully difficult. He knows his car is just handling absolutely like a dream, but so is Paul Tracy's. They're matching lap times, 20.4 last time around. Absolutely nothing between them.
Fantastic stuff between these two then. Tracy and Andretti come round to complete another lap, and they're soon going to be up behind Roberto Moreno. He's at the back of the next little group. Now this might give Michael Andretti that opportunity that he's been looking for. We've already heard over the radio that Tracy's not so happy with his car in traffic. This is where the pressure really starts to tell on Tracy. Can he get past Moreno without losing too much?
Roberto Moreno, that's a disgraceful piece of driving. He pulled over there to try and block Paul Tracy coming out of turn 4. There's no need for for that whatsoever at this level. I think that was a bad move by Roberto Moreno. Paul Tracy, all credit to him, kept his cool, took the inside line, was able to fly past Moreno. It's well off the pace here, and the position is unchanged. So thank goodness that would not have been the way to settle this motor race.
No, don't forget Moreno, his teammate Michael Andretti. They both got held up behind Greg Moore there, and Tracy took the wide line. Andretti had to take the wide line as well. Fantastic. This is just incredible. Who is going to take the victory out of these two? Another car to get past up on the right-hand side. I think it's Dario Franchitti that they're going past now. Dario running in 13th position, and that's given Paul Tracy just a little bit of breathing space. He's pushing so hard, he's running brave. We know the car doesn't like running in the traffic so well, but in fact, if anything, he's gained through that little bit of traffic that they just had to deal with, and that just shows you how determined Paul Tracy is to hold on to this victory. We've just got 8 laps to go, Jeremy. 8 laps to go now, and Paul Tracy's still got a few more cars to deal with.
Yeah, there's one of the Toyotas right ahead of him now. It's Juan Fangio. Oh, dear me, Fangio turns in the corner. You really don't have any choice of that corner there. You've got to take the line through that corner. Now Fangio pulls over. Good move by the Argentinian. Can answer? No. Andretti not able to make a move there. Paul Tracy held the line through the corner, comes off the corner well. No room there for Michael Andretti.
Michael even tried changing down a gear there. They've got a sort of choice of top gears that they can run, and he changed down to try and get a bit more off the corner, but it wasn't enough. So Andretti still sits in second place. A little bit of clean air for another lap or two, but there are only 6 laps to go as they come around. Last lap was a 21.8. Let's see what this lap is. 21 as they cross the line. 20.5 and a 20.4 from Andretti. A tenth of a second faster than Tracy on that last lap. He's closed up again fractionally, but down through turn 2, that's where Tracy can just eke away the advantage very, very slightly. Tracy just, wow, he goes right out towards the wall on the exit of turn 3. Another lap completed. Just 4 laps to go. Just over a minute's racing now, and Paul Tracy now beginning to feel that maybe it is going to be victory for him and Penske. Michael Andretti's going to have to pull something really, really special out of the bag now to take the victory.
Yeah, I think this is that's beyond him. Paul Tracy is driving absolutely beautifully. Next ahead of him on the road, about 100 yards ahead, is Scott Pruitt, who is running in 10th place. But it's a tall order for Michael Andretti. He's only got a couple of laps to do it. Oh, and there's a blow-up. One of the Toyotas has blown up as he comes past turn 3. There'll be a yellow flag out for sure.
It's the race to the line now. It's the race to the line. Oh, and he's just Paul Tracy, I think, has just won it, because it will be a yellow flag to the checkered flag now. And why? Oh, Tracy backed off so early.
Yeah, the yellow was out, so you can't pass on the yellow flag. And Michael Andretti realised that. So it's not like NASCAR where you race back to the yellow. In the CART series, that's not the case. When the yellow flag comes out, it's for a good reason. You take caution. So Michael Andretti not able to get that done, and Paul Tracy, there's only a couple of laps to go now, so he can perhaps breathe now for the first time in about 3 or 4 minutes.
Paul Tracy takes the victory. We've got Roger Penske in the pit lane.
It's a real run. This is a track that you got to handle all day. Paul did an outstanding job. Of course, we needed this one. You know, we came up with no water last year, so maybe finishing 1 and 3 means we're back on the track. But say the engine ran great. I just got to hand it to all our guys back in England, the designers, and of course Tracy and Hunter. Can't have 2 better pilots.
That's right, and I'll tell you what, very important, Gary. And Lee White just passed on the message. This has got to be a heartbreaker, denying you a chance for the last couple of laps. Got to be heartbreaking.
Well, for sure, Mike really drove his heart out. The car was great. We really had the car to beat. It's unfortunate we had the flat, but we'll get them next time.
Boy, this Swift is something on the ovals, guys.
So the yellow flag, we're still waiting for the end of this race. They'll come round, they're on their last lap now to take the checkered flag, and that's the way the race will finish under yellow conditions. But Paul Tracy will take the first Penske win in a long, long time. And we've got Nick Guzet with us of Penske up here in the commentary box. Nick, this must just be a wonderful moment for you as the checkered flag waves for Paul Tracy, winner at Nazareth.
Well, it's very hard to express a feeling at the moment. It's been such a long time, and the whole team, and Mr. Penske and Mercedes, and just everybody who supports us will be so thrilled with this. And I know what I'm going to do on the way to Poole tomorrow. I'm stopping at the off license. I'm going to buy lots of champagne for everybody in the factory, and then you'll enjoy it.
Thank you very much, Nick, for joining us, and great win for Paul Tracy from Michael Andretti. Andretti takes the lead in the championship as a result of that second. Alonso third, Gilles de Ferran fourth, from Vassar, Rahal, Herta, Bozel, Guterman, and Pruitt and Zanardi from Ben Edwards and Jeremy Shaw in Nazareth. We'll have to say goodbye for now. See you next time.
Is it great? Thanks very much. Well done. Good stuff.
Good. Thank you, Nick. All right. Thank you for coming up. It's great. That was a bit of a rush at the end.
What a shame it finished under yellow.
Yeah. Look at this. Absolute delight in the Penske camp then as Paul Tracy receives the congratulations from his crew after a brilliantly driven race from the Canadian. It's been such a drought of victories for the team. The relief is so apparent, isn't it, Jeremy?
Yes, indeed. It's relief as much as elation there, I'd say, for Paul Tracy in particular. He's been through some tough times. He's driven some extremely good races, only to come up short, but a magnificent drive by the Canadian this afternoon. Thoroughly deserved that victory.
Let's hear from the winning driver.
Off of Team Penske's back.